Well, the last time you heard us on the air was about 15 hours ago. We were here on KCMO Talk Radio after we had some tornado warnings impacting the Kansas City metro that started in southwest Johnson County, Kansas, moved into Miami County, and then that same storm system brought us tornado warnings in Jackson and Cass County on the Missouri side of the state line. You even heard from Mark, who found himself hiding in the locker room at Olathe South yesterday afternoon?
Yeah, Olathe South. It was crazy, man.
That came out of nowhere.
What was that?
I said that came out of nowhere.
It did. We pulled up to the parking lot right as the front was moving in, and literally we got to the front door right as the big first gust of wind came in, and then the rain afterwards, and it was crazy. I'd never seen anything like that.
And you had the tornado sirens going off down there by Olathe South.
Yep.
We didn't have anything, according to Kate, up in the northwest part of Olathe, but I was here yesterday. It was about 1:50 in the afternoon when we first got those tornado warnings for Gardner, Edgerton, Spring Hill, and southern Olathe, and I was all set to pack it up and go home. And then tornado warnings happen. It's like, well, I guess I'm hanging around for a little bit.
Yeah, we were only supposed to get just some normal thunderstorms, and then I guess about an hour, 30 minutes before it all kicked in, they're like, the ingredients are great for tornadoes. Yeah,
well, yesterday I had to blow out all the weather forecasts from our KCTV5 partners because their midday forecast said the tornadic threat is low today. Well, that obviously was not the case. And thankfully, we were here. We were doing plenty of live coverage. We put Mark on from the bunker at Olathe South yesterday. And what we know right now, we have the National Weather Service that will be basically, doing their day after investigation to try to figure out if we actually had a tornado, if it was just strong winds, whatever it turned out to be. But the worst part of it was right by the Truman Sports Complex. And I'm sitting here and I'm thinking to myself, Clark Hunt's going to get that new stadium somehow. Heavens have opened up, and God is saying, give Clark his new stadium, knock down the K with an EF5 tornado, and we're off to the races. Let's go. I mean, I couldn't believe it. The National Weather Service put out a tweet yesterday at just shy of 2:30 in the afternoon, and here's exactly what it said. Said here, tornado likely near the Truman Sports Complex near I-435 and I-70. That was the extent of the tweet in all caps. That's all it said. And I'm like, my goodness, Mother Nature is playing one big joke on us, John.
And boomers across the metro go, dude, and I was at that REO show at Royal Stadium back in the 70s. I've got the T-shirt from when the storm came through.
Oh, man, you're going back. You remember that like it was yesterday? Were you there?
I was not there, but it was Vin. I think it was Ted Nugent and REO out at Royal Stadium.
Oh, man, that's a tag team right there. Yeah. Ted Nugent and REO.
That's 70s Kansas City. Black T-shirt.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Well, there were some videos from the K yesterday. It certainly was a mess. But all in all, thankfully, we don't have any, obviously, casualties, even any real notable injuries right now to report. There was a semi that was knocked over on 70 that did cause a mess around the stadiums yesterday, but that was really the extent of it, and this could have been a lot worse. Of course, there were also tornado warnings, most notably in the western half of Independence is where the National Weather Service thought a tornado was blowing through yesterday.
I think we had maybe now 3 semis. I was looking into it. There was one on 635, and there was one on, I think, at 470 about Raytown Road, and then the one you mentioned. So, yeah, look out.
Not a place you want to be. You do not want to be anywhere near your vehicle. It's amazing how many people, too, hear about a tornado warning and try to get in the car. It's like, what? No, stop. Come on. Mark, no.
I did that yesterday.
What?
I was about ready to go pick up my daughter early because I heard that there was going to be some storms. I wanted to get there early, and the siren started going off, and I was like, well, it's like 2 minutes from our house, so just went right around the corner, got in there. It was fine.
Fireable offense?
No, we're good.
He had a responsibility. He was picking up his daughter.
All right, fine. They would have taken care of your girl. Come on.
I know. I saw with it. By the way, shout out to the Olathe South staff. They the student athletes. They were great.
I'm sure they were. You weren't great getting in the car with a little baby, Mark. Come on now.
Me and my friend, we were prepared. We were outside looking up. Got the lawn chair, got the cooler, and you got a piece of jerky, so the search dogs find you first.
Man, you got it all mapped out there, John.
Yeah. It was preparation for the season.
Yeah. What were you drinking? What was in the cooler? That's what I really want to know. KC Beer Co., maybe? Something local?
Dr. Pepper.
Oh, of course. Of course. You're 12th of the day at that point. My goodness.
Yeah, I was hitting them hard.
Yeah, I bet. Gosh. I got a text this morning from Billy Long, of course, our old pal, a member of the House of Representatives. And Billy Long, this guy has had himself a long, winding road, no pun intended, to try to be the next guy to lead the IRS. He got through a committee yesterday. Now it moves to a full Senate vote. It's going to happen. It's just a question of when. But he texted me this morning saying that President Trump texted him congratulating him this morning at 1:47 a.m. Trump texted Billy Long saying congratulations on getting through the committee to potentially be the next leader of the IRS. He goes, I don't know when this guy sleeps. I'm like, I mean, is he getting up a lot to pee because he's an old guy? Or like, does he just not sleep? Is he standing there peeing and being like, I forgot to text Billy?
Down the hall, so you're just checking the phone as you go.
Yeah. Between the two of them, it's like, okay, guys, why are we texting each other at 2 a.m.? What's going on here? What's this all about? Like, is Trump just, listen, we've all been there, middle of the night. I got woken up at 3:50 by my second daughter. She wakes up and she walks into our bedroom and she goes, Dad. Like, yeah. I'm about to get up anyway for work. I can't find my stuffy, my lovey. Like, okay, let's go into your room. She walks up to the top bunk bed. She lifts up her own pillow. There it is. I'm like, wait, you couldn't have done this before you came into my room to wake me up?
That's happened to me so many times.
I'm like, come on. Come on. You're killing me here. I had a long day yesterday. I'm chasing tornadoes around town, trying to keep people safe, trying to get another 15, 20 minutes of sleep before the alarm goes off. And you couldn't have looked under your own pillow?
It's right under the covers. Come on.
And of course, they always find it themselves after they wake you up to go back to their bed to look for it with them. You're killing me here. Come on. Oh, my goodness. So between that, Billy Long's up all night, Trump's up all night, and we are dodging tornadoes around Kansas City. It has been a wild last 18 hours. Now, coming up at the bottom of the hour at 6:30, we are going to talk to Avery Smith. He is the police chief in Ellis, Kansas. Now, they're the department that arrested Thomas Tolbert yesterday at 4 a.m. in Ellis, Kansas at a Days Inn. Tolbert is the man who is accused of shooting a Lee Summit police officer on Sunday. Now, this is obviously a very small department. Ellis, Kansas has 1,900 people in it. And I was setting up the interview with Avery Smith, and I find out that he's working the overnight shift because that's what you do when you're the chief in a small town. So he's coming fresh off of an overnight shift where Ellis, Kansas was at the center of this manhunt for a guy who shot a Lee Summit police officer on Sunday. And he will give us the insight into what exactly happened and how the arrest was made. We found out that since yesterday, they had to tase Tolbert. He did not go down easily, but they were able to get him into custody with the Hayes Law Enforcement and also the Kansas Bureau of Investigation. So we look forward to having on Police Chief Avery Smith at 6:35 this morning on KCMO. In the meantime, we also have a key quote from a Kansas City Chiefs lobbyist as they try to get funding from the state of Missouri in this special session that continues on. This key quote that I can't help but think may have tipped the Chiefs' hand on what they want to do. I will share with you next on KCMO Talk Radio 95.7 FM, and you can always stream us by downloading the KCMO Talk Radio app. That's a good job by Guy Benson. We hit on that yesterday. Conservatives much more likely to say they have excellent mental health than the liberal side of the political aisle. I mean, go figure, right?
Talk about a bombshell.
Can't believe it. Guy Benson coming to Kansas City 1 week from tomorrow. He will be here for his event, and we were going through the numbers yesterday. We have less than 10 tickets remaining. You can buy them at KCMOTalkRadio.com. So yesterday, special session continued down in Jefferson City as they look to help out from a state level. The Chiefs and the Royals stay in Missouri. And it survived its first major test after a Senate committee advanced it to the full Senate for debate and possible passage. This does not mean that this thing is a done deal at all. It just means that it got through the first hurdle. It got over the first hurdle. That's the only thing that happened yesterday, and this is what was expected. It passed this committee 6-3. This is going to come down to the key players in Jeff City. It'll come down to Governor Mike Kehoe. It'll come down to John Patterson, the Speaker of the House here in Lee Summit. It will come down to people like Doug Beck in St. Louis, Lincoln Huff. Those are the decision makers who are ultimately going to be able to get this bill passed if it does get passed. But there were some quotes yesterday that stood out to me, and they came courtesy of the Chiefs lobbyist, who, of course, is down there. Kansas City Star talked to him. His name is Rich Aubuchon. I don't know if that's the correct pronunciation of his name. I've never seen him on TV. I've never heard him pronounce his own name, but we'll just call him Rich for the time being. So Rich told the Senate committee that if the team stays, the plan is to spend $1.15 billion to renovate Arrowhead, and that those renovations would begin in 2027 or 2028. He said here, if we are to stay with state and local participation, this is the type of plan that could work. But what was more interesting to me is what he said later in this piece. He said here, quote, the Kansas proposal is better in the respect that we don't need a local vote, and in the respect that it would cover up to 70% of the construction. But it's new construction. It's also not going to be the loudest stadium in the world. You don't have the allure of Arrowhead. That does not sound like somebody who is really jumping to go to Kansas. He just gave you multiple reasons for why the Chiefs would not want to go to Kansas. New construction is a lot of work. You still then have to work with the state of Kansas to figure out ingress and egress. Who's paying for that? Is that the state? Through the Department of Transportation? Is that the team? Where is that included in your costs? You have everything you need on that front out at the Truman Sports Complex. Nothing needs to change. That's a totally separate headache that has not been addressed in this conversation. He also goes on to say here, as we just read to you from the Kansas City Star, it is also not going to be the loudest stadium in the world, which, of course, Arrowhead proudly is. And you don't have the allure of Arrowhead. What more do you need to hear from the Chiefs lobbyist? They don't want to go to Kansas. That's my read between the lines on that quote from the Chiefs lobbyist to the Kansas City Star. Kansas is just being used as a basically leveraging chip in this conversation. And, they go on to say, well, we don't need a vote and it would cover up to 70% of the construction. It could. What's your Star Bond district look like, buddy? Somebody's got to lay that out. No one has yet to lay out what a Star Bond district has to look like, geographically speaking, to actually pay up to 70% of the construction, which is going to be $3 to $4 billion for a dome stadium. You'd think that somebody would at least have leaked that at some point if we were serious about looking at that side of the state line. There's 3 weeks to go until that Star Bond offer ends, but no one's done it yet. Ask yourself why that might be. Now, of course, people are looking at this and they're saying, well, the Royals and the Chiefs would not commit to staying in Missouri if this legislation passes. Of course they're not going to do that. They played these two sides against each other for the last year since the Star Bond offer came to be. Why would they stop now? They're not going to suddenly say to Missouri, you get this done and we got a handshake agreement. That's never going to happen. 913-408-7957. And I know that there are mixed opinions on whether or not, Arrowhead is alluring. I happen to believe that when it comes to just being a regular fan and watching a game, it's a really good place to watch a game. I don't care about suites. I don't care about what it means for Fortune 500 companies and what their amenities are going to be, because that's not me. That's not 99% of us. But if you're just a fan wanting to watch some football and drink a beer, it's a really good place to watch a game. Steven's in Kansas City. Go ahead, Steven. You're on KCMO.
Hey, B, to heck with this tornado at the K, man. We had the Chiefs off-season workouts coming in today. We could have lost a bunch of Chiefs infrastructure. I'm a Kansas proponent all the way at 119th and Knoll or the Legends. But, listen, I can see this from Clark Hunt's perspective as well. His dad, that was his happiest place on earth. If I was Clark, my number one item would be to take the money from Missouri and build that retractable, what do you call that, rolling roof that they proposed back in the day for like $400 million. I'd take all the money. You have terrible. The Chiefs have the worst preparation facilities in the NFL. You could move all those to the K. You could put that retractable roof for Super Bowl, Final Four. You could have concerts at the K. I mean, that's probably the number one efficient option if you just don't want to spend money. And I don't know if you have to vote. I don't know if you'd have to vote locally on that or not. But you take that money from the state and put a rolling roof in there, and you're good to go, man. I would say that would be 1 and 1A, and then you go to the Legends or you go to 119th and Knoll. But the facilities they have are atrocious right now down the hill from Arrowhead in terms of player preparation. So if we have anything to improve, I would turn the K into a concert / football preparation show place for football preparation.
Well,
so
here's
my 2 cents.
Thank you, Stephen. I appreciate it. The K is going to be demolished. That's what will happen there. There's no point in having a venue next to Arrowhead to do concerts when that's what Arrowhead would theoretically be used for, and they want to use it more for going forward. Upgrading the facilities, you're right. Those rankings come out every year, and the Chiefs rank poorly when it comes to things like facilities for players and practice facilities and things of that nature. Those are likely to be improved. Interestingly, the retractable roof thing has not really come up throughout this entire conversation, but I will note that the ask from the Chiefs last April was $800 million, right? If they extended that sales tax. As of yesterday, we finally got a number. It's $1.15 billion. I don't know what the extra $350 million is for, because neither team has felt the need to share their plans with anybody. That'll be good. Guy Benson, 2 to 5. He's in town next week. Still under 10 tickets remaining if you want to join us at KCMOTalkRadio.com. So what's going on right now? Well, we've got ICE obviously doing the Lord's work around this country. I mean, these guys are getting some really bad people who were allowed in, who waltzed right through over the last 4 years out of the country. In May alone, in the state of Massachusetts, nearly 1,500 people were arrested by ICE who are living in the U.S. illegally. And more than half of those arrests, according to authorities, were people with significant criminal backgrounds. Convicted murderers, child rapists, drug traffickers, all on that list, according to authorities. So instead of all of us saying, hey, this is a good thing, and it actually is a good thing, regardless of what your politics are, there are people who are more offended by the fact that ICE agents are, in some cases, wearing masks. Now, why is this happening? Because they're being doxxed. And that is what Acting ICE Director Todd Lyons said in a statement that was released this week. He said that federal officers have been doxxed on social media, and they're often wearing masks while on duty and making immigration arrests after officers and their families have received death threats. He said here in a statement, a lot of agencies were invited to come out 2 weeks ago in Los Angeles, where we ran our operation where ICE officers were doxxed. So let's just say this again. People out there taking photos and printing names and faces of our ICE agents, posting them online with death threats to their families and themselves, will not be tolerated. I mean, if you're one of these people that's out there like more offended by ICE agents wearing masks and more upset with that than the fact that we just allowed potentially thousands of criminals and millions of people into the country unvetted over the last 4 years, the problem is the person staring you in the face in the mirror. Let's be very clear on that.
They release a statement and say it will not be tolerated. I'd rather hear them say it will be punished.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, true.
So it will not be tolerated. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm with you there.
You know?
I mean, we're
a little stronger.
You try to dox ICE agents, you're going to have a
be
problem.
punished, yeah.
You should be. So Hakeem Jeffries, who is the minority leader in the House of Representatives for the Democrat Party, he decided to go down this road yesterday.
Every single ICE agent who's engaged in this aggressive overreach and are trying to hide their identities from the American people will be unsuccessful in doing that. This is America. This is not the Soviet Union. We're not behind the Iron Curtain. This is not the 1930s. And every single one of them, no matter what it takes, no matter how long it takes, will, of course, be identified.
All right, Hakeem Jeffries, you were the guy who was the leader of your party, and you still are the leader of your party in the House of Representatives. And you didn't care one bit when millions of people were illegally coming into the country. You didn't care at all. Now you're more offended and you are more outraged by the fact that ICE agents are doing their jobs and having to cover up their identities because there are people who support your political party who are doxing family members and children of ICE agents who are doing their job, their legal job. You're doxing them. Your supporters are doxing them, and your problem is with the ICE agents. Boy, I can't imagine why this political party can't get out of its own way. I can't imagine why their popularity is at record lows right now, when this is actually the policy that of all the policies Trump has obviously sought over the last few months, the immigration policy is universally his most popular across the political aisle. So let's go after that. Let's go after ICE agents. You guys are geniuses. Keep your foot on the pedal there, fellas.
And what of the masked Antifa boys?
Yeah. Oh, that's a great job. Yeah. Don't worry about it, though. But if you want to protest outside of a Tesla dealership and light it on fire, please be our guest. Coming up next on KCMO Talk Radio, 95.7 FM. We're streaming on the KCMO Talk Radio app. The Chiefs slipped in a request yesterday down in Jeff City. And the ask, monetarily speaking, is even larger than it was last year. The question is, for what? So it was about 15 months ago that Jackson County voters went to the polls and they told the Chiefs and the Royals no on extending a 3/8 sales tax. A lot of reasons for that. It was not about one thing. There were a lot of reasons for a large percentage of the population in Jackson County to be unhappy with the way that that process went. It was not about one thing. It was about a lot of things. A lot of people had a lot of reasons to vote that 3/8 sales tax down last year. That's what happened. So now we're sitting here as the Missouri legislature is hosting this special session down in Jeff City. And of course, a big part of this is to figure out whether or not the state will provide some funding for a new Royal Stadium somewhere in Missouri and for the Chiefs to basically upgrade Arrowhead Stadium. So yesterday, it was a 6-3 vote that the funding got through a Senate committee hearing and now will go to a full Senate debate expected today. So today is a big day for the Chiefs Royals funding down in Jeff City. The entire Senate will be debating this and figuring out what to do with it. But yesterday, one thing that I thought got overlooked is that the Chiefs lobbyists told this Senate committee that if the team stays, the plan is to spend $1.15 billion to renovate Arrowhead Stadium. Now, last year, the proposal was for about $800 million to renovate Arrowhead Stadium. It's not clear, like I know when it comes to inflation, inflation's real, but it's not clear, at least not to, taxpayers who should matter here. It's not clear how the Chiefs went from $800 million in renovations to $1.15 billion in renovations. That is another $350 million. than what they would have done last year. And nobody has any idea what exactly the renovations even look like out at Arrowhead Stadium. Remember, the big screw up by both of the teams, the things that they could control last year, they screwed up royally. They rolled out their plans very late in the process. You had the Royals announcing the Crossroads and then negotiating with business owners around the Crossroads while people were going to the polls to vote. The Chiefs throw out this, I mean, let's be honest, kind of a half-assed plan a few weeks before the vote, and it didn't impress anybody. And then it's like, hey, vote on this. Now, that's not the reason the vote failed. People were mad about property taxes in Jackson County. That's a total mess. They were sick of Frank White. They had a lot of reasons to be upset with the legislature. And this was their only way to push back against all the powerful people in Jackson County. I don't think it really was about being against upgrades for Arrowhead. Yeah, a lot of people didn't like a downtown ballpark in general for the Royals. And both teams didn't do themselves any favors in the process. And if they listen to us on KCMO, they might have seen that coming along the way. But they had some, I think, really bad local advisors helping them as well, who frankly had no business being involved in that entire process. But, you know, it is what it is. But now to come back a year later and say, hey, we're going to go to the state, figure out what we can do through the state. Okay, all right, that's fine. You're allowed to do that, I guess. But now to say, if you're the Chiefs, we're looking at another $350 million more in renovation costs. It's a lot of money. What does that include? What is the plan? We're once again kind of back where we were last February and March, where I think a lot of people are saying, okay, open to this. If I'm a Missouri State Senator, I mean, you know, maybe you're considering this. But don't you want to know what you're getting for not even your money, your taxpayers' monies? Like, is anyone going to ask that question today in Jeff City? They should. Hey, you guys were looking at $800 million in renovations a year ago. Just out of curiosity, now you're looking at $1.15 billion. We know inflation's real, but I'm sorry, you know, nothing's gone up 40% over the last year or so. So what changed? What does this exactly look like? Is anybody in the Missouri State Senate going to ask the lobbyists that question today? Or at least try to get some information on that front? It feels like a no-brainer. It doesn't mean you're against it or for it. Just ask the question. The way that this process has played out has been so back-asswards, it's crazy. We're talking about how much money the states may ultimately chip in without having any idea what they're looking to do. I mean, you know, we have a rough idea what the Royals want to do. They want to build a baseball stadium. They want to build a complex around the stadium to make some additional revenues, to theoretically put that back into the team, to obviously invest as a smaller market, to try to keep up with the Yankees and the Dodgers and, you know, the Mets and the Cubs and some of the bigger markets. I get it. But on the other side, you know, is anyone going to say what's the difference from $350 million from where you were last year to this year? If you're the Chiefs, it's not being against the Chiefs. It's just asking an obvious question that since this number came out yesterday, no one has asked as far as I can tell. Every local news outlet had this story. This quote from the Chiefs lobbyist saying the plan is going to cost $1.15 billion as of today. What's different? Meantime, you did have the Kansas City Star's editor has responded to one of my criticisms of one of their articles. It came in at 4 a.m. this morning on X. So I've got the Kansas City Star editors up all night, I guess. This guy can't get any sleep. Mike Hendricks responded to one of my posts on social media. They had this story 2 days ago in the Kansas City Star that read, Missouri Stadium plan may be in jeopardy. One reason, Royals Pride Month post. So I called them out on this because, well, they embarrass themselves on a regular basis, and the stadium funding will not be decided based on the Royals Pride Month post. Regardless of what you think of the post, it doesn't matter. The stadium funding is not going to be decided by a Pride Month post. And their article actually doesn't even support their own headline. As I shared on X and on Facebook in the last day or so, in paragraph 6 of the article, they note one state senator who posted about the Royals Pride Month post on social media. But the article never even suggests the team's chances of stadium funding have sunk because of a Pride Month post. There was nothing in the article that backs up their headline. And in fact, the one Missouri state senator who posted about it on social media was already vocally against the stadium funding before the Royals' social media post. So from a counting votes perspective, it's irrelevant. And no one else in the legislature had a single comment about this Royals Pride Month post. So I'd say do better, Kansas City Star, but I gave up on those prospects a very long time ago. So Mike Hendricks, who is with the Kansas City Star, I don't know what, I think he's an editor or something for the KC Star. Well, he responded this morning, or excuse me, he covers local government for the Kansas City Star. Investigations guy. Boy, there's a lot he's not covering with the local Kansas City government. Anyway, he says here that I'm making way too much of this. The headline he writes here does not support your mock outrage. The Star has a full-time reporter in Jeff City to cover the story and others. No other local outlet does. Well, one, when he writes here, the headline does not support my mock outrage. No. Your job is to have your story support your headline. You failed to do that. Your media outlet failed to do that colossally. And then saying the Star has a full-time reporter in Jeff City to cover the story. Exactly. So you should do a better job than just pulling a social media post from a senator. You should know better that this senator was already a no vote, that it was completely irrelevant. And considering that you've got a reporter down in Jeff City, maybe you would ask somebody in charge about the social media post and whether or not it will play any role in the teams getting state funding. And you'd find out the answer was no. But your media outlet, your employer, failed to do that because they don't care about the news. They don't care about what's real and what's not real. They simply care about pushing and promoting a political agenda. And that is insinuating and suggesting that somehow the Royals posting something on social media about Pride Month is the reason that a Republican legislature will turn them down from state funding. And that's simply not true. Even if you want it to be true, it's not true. So I don't think that Mike Hendricks helped his cause or his employer at all here. And I think we just eviscerated why. But, you know, if you want to drop in the mentions, of course, happy to do that on X at Pete Mundo. Mayor Lucas was just getting roasted, absolutely roasted yesterday on his social media. And this came after, or really during, the tornado warnings that went off around Kansas City between about 2 o'clock and 3 o'clock yesterday afternoon. We got the first tornado warning at about 1:50 in the afternoon, and that came for southwest Johnson County, Gardner, Edgerton, Spring Hill. That same storm system then moved into southern Jackson County, northern Cass County. But, you know, we had these severe thunderstorm warnings and then tornado warnings that then moved north-northeast through the stadiums, Grandview, Independence. And, of course, that's where we're finding out today. We'll find out today what exactly blew through there once the National Weather Service gets out there and all the other folks. But Mayor Lucas, man, and to his credit, he didn't delete the post, but he was getting destroyed yesterday. So he puts up on his Facebook page a very simple post. Take shelter, everybody. And there were 1,100 comments. Oh, man. Tommy writes here on Mayor Lucas's Facebook page, Mr. Mayor, I found a pothole deep enough. I'm good right now. We've got this. Riley writes, good thing you didn't fix any of those potholes. I'm safe as could be. Alan writes, if you don't have a basement, just try to find a pothole. I mean, you've got dozens of comments like this. Brianna writes, don't worry, Mayor Q. I've found a really nice pothole that I'll be hiding in today. I mean, this is just all over the guy's social media page. All over it. To his credit, at least I don't think he blocked any of these people. But, I mean, he was just getting absolutely owned yesterday. And I don't think he responded to any of them. which I give him credit for. Rebecca writes, thank God it rained so much that I hydroplaned across all the potholes, dodging the twister on I-70.
This is absolutely lit. This is lit.
Oh, this is just gold, man. Meantime, Mark's sitting in the locker room at Olathe South yesterday when the tornado sirens are going off in southern Olathe. He's got a 1-year-old. He's got, both his older 2 daughters as well. And he's taking selfies in the Olathe South bathroom there, Mark, or locker room. Where were you?
The girls' locker room was a girls' basketball camp. The coaches were all great there. There was a couple grandpas that were in there ready to pick up their grandkids, so it was fun.
It's very nice. Meantime, John was sitting on the front porch drinking his Dr. Pepper.
Out in the backyard with my buddy. Looking up.
Yeah.
Hey, that one's turning.
There it is.
I don't think the heavy stuff's going to come down for about an hour.
Very nice. Caddyshack, take a bow, go home for the day. You're good. Oh, man. Also here on Mayor Lucas's Facebook page, we tried this approach, Mr. Mayor. People just send us pictures. This is from KCFD Station 10. People just send us pictures of themselves chugging beer and shooting at the tornado while trying to blow it away with box fans. Today writes here to the mayor, sir, our potholes are more deadlier than this storm. I ain't in no mood, Quentin. That's right. She's fired up.
I'm not worth your Red Lobster money.
Oh, gosh. I could read these all day. All day. Man, Freddie says he just climbed out of his neighbor's pothole. I'm totally safe. I mean, this is good. A couple people took this approach from Mayor Lucas's Facebook post when the tornado sirens went off, and all the mayor wrote was, take shelter, everybody. Ross says, don't worry, Mr. Mayor. We do this every night from the gunshots. Ooh, man. Oh, man, oh, man, oh, man. People are just not holding back on Mayor Q. That is a tough spot, but he took it like a champ, I guess. I'll give him that much.
Tirade Tuesday there on the line.
On Mayor Lucas's Facebook page.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh. Well, speaking of tirades, we're following the big, beautiful bill that, of course, is right now sitting in the United States Senate. And I don't know how this is going to end up playing out, but Elon Musk is not happy at all with the big, beautiful bill. He was not having any of it yesterday on X, which, of course, he happens to own. And he's not wrong. Let's be clear. He's not wrong. He's disappointed that the spending cuts are, frankly, not nearly enough. We are $36 trillion in debt. We are going into basically $2 trillion of debt now every single year. And the big, beautiful bill, in fairness, doesn't really do a great job addressing any of that. And Elon's been very, very vocal about this over the last 24 to 48 hours. He wrote here 6 hours ago on X, the immense level of overspending will drive America into debt slavery. Think about this. 1 billion seconds ago was 1993. 1 trillion seconds ago was 30,000 BC. The U.S. national debt is now rising $1 trillion every 180 days. And our payments on that debt continues to increase as a percentage of our budget. It's unsustainable. And it can't continue on. And this was one thing that, listen, during his first term in office, Trump was not great on this. He really wasn't fiscally all that conservative. COVID hit him, and early on, we did have to spend a lot of money. I think we spent way too much money towards the end of 2020 that we didn't need to spend, but it happened, and then, of course, Joe Biden kept the spending train going and didn't really roll it back at all. So Elon said here yesterday, I'm sorry, but I can't stand it anymore. This massive, outrageous, pork-filled congressional spending bill is a disgusting abomination. Shame on those who voted for it. You know you did wrong. You know it. Caroline Leavitt, the White House press secretary, was asked about this yesterday by Peter Doocy of Fox News.
And something that just crossed, Caroline, how mad do you think President Trump is going to be when he finds out that Elon Musk said, "I'm sorry, but I just can't stand it anymore. This massive, outrageous, pork-filled congressional spending bill is a disgusting abomination. Shame on those who voted for it. You know you did wrong. You know it."
Look, the president on this bill, it doesn't change the president's opinion. This is one big, beautiful bill, and he's sticking to it. Cameron.
Thank you.
He's sticking to it, he says. Now, I'm all about being a realist here. And the reality is you got to get a bill through that can actually pass, right? You have to do it. They barely have a majority in the House, and the Senate's a little bit better, but the question is how much better? There is a part of this, too, where they say, hey, we've got to right now just extend the tax cuts from 2017. We can't afford a government shutdown. We don't have a lot of room for error here. And hopefully maybe we can get a larger majority in the House of Representatives in 2026 and then make more cuts from there on out. I suppose. But, Elon's learning what it's like to be fiscally conservative and have a lot of high hopes for Congress and then be sorely disappointed. For those of us who have lived through this for the last, 15, 20 years, it's a tale as old as time. Republicans scream about Democrat spending. They scream about $36 trillion in debt, and then they get power, and it's kind of like, yeah, about that. I mean, we might kind of cut a little bit, and we'll give you all, like, the outrageous things we spend money on, like $500,000 for transgender surgeries in Uganda. And don't get me wrong, that's bizarre, but it really doesn't address the crisis of why we're running $2 trillion annual deficits. It doesn't. It's good to know that we're not spending $500,000 on transgender surgeries in Uganda, and it'll make for a great headline, and it will make for a great 5-minute segment with some congressman on Fox News, but it really doesn't address the crisis, and it is a crisis. So it's like, hey, let's dangle this carrot out here and drum up the outrage and get the social media train going. But in the end, like, don't get me wrong, I don't want to spend $500,000 on transgender surgeries in Uganda. But at the same time, you're not really doing what needs to be done to get any of the spending under control. You just hopefully, dangling the carrot and make me notice that, make me talk about that, and make us be outraged over that versus actually doing the hard work that needs to be done to solve the issue. And it's blatantly transparent what's going on here. And yeah, it is frustrating. Elon's not wrong. At the same time, what's realistic? I don't know. I mean, we haven't really heard from the Senate yet on how they can maybe make the big, beautiful bill more beautiful. I don't really want it to be bigger. I really don't. I would like to call it the smaller but more beautiful bill after it comes out of the Senate. That would be nice, because anything with big and government in it is really not something I'm looking for. But I have very little confidence that that is going to happen. 913-408-7957 is how you join us on KCMO. Are you Team Elon on this, or do you say, hey, when it comes down to what the margins are, we got to roll with what we've got here. So just get this thing done and move on and hope the margins get better come 26. 913-408-7957. It's 8:15 on a Wednesday morning on KCMO Talk Radio. Patrick Tuohy will be in studio at 8:35. Give us the skinny on what he heard from the special session yesterday in Jeff City, where the Royals and Chiefs funding is obviously at the center of the conversation. That's coming up on 95.7 FM and streaming on the KCMO Talk Radio app. And Guy Benson will be here in Kansas City 1 week from today for our private appearance with him on Thursday evening, Boulevard Brewing, and there are less than 10 tickets available that you can buy at KCMOTalkRadio.com for a meet and greet, dinner, drinks, and a show. It will be a lot of fun. Coming up next Thursday night, we'll be out there. Keatsman will join us as well, and we'll have upwards of 200 great listeners joining us with less than 10 tickets remaining. So Elon Musk also shared this clip of Rand Paul, Kentucky U.S. Senator, commenting yesterday on CNBC about this big, beautiful bill.
Intestinal fortitude. Who has the strength of character to say no? And you have to say no in the end. You have to say no unless they will change the bill. And that's what I've said from the beginning. I'm open to voting for the bill. I'm open to compromise on the bill. I'm just not open to supporting $5 trillion. This will, in debt ceiling increase, this will be the first time the debt ceiling's ever been increased by all Republicans. It'll be the first time that conservatives lose their moral high ground by voting for a debt ceiling increase, and not a small debt ceiling increase. This will be historically the greatest increase in the debt ceiling ever in our history.
Well, let's just be clear. Republicans lost the moral high ground on the debt a very long time ago. And I have said this for a long time. I had some hope that this time might be a little different. But trust me, when the Democrats are back in power, and they will be back in power at some point, I don't want to hear them screaming about the debt. I don't. It's just so hollow at this point. And it's fine. Just be honest, right? Just be like, okay, we're going to cut like a little bit here and there, but we're really not going to do anything major, because they have an opportunity to do that right now. And it's not really evident they're doing the dirty work that needs to be done. And they'll say it's because, well, we can't get it passed. And I get it to an extent, but man, lay it out there for the American people. Tell them what's going on. Don't brag about the really minor cuts you're making.
At a time when we're having trouble selling the 10-year bond, we're having interest rates at 5%. We also are having the interest payment over $1 trillion. Imagine what happens if the interest payment doubled. We're paying on average about 3.5% now. We were paying 1.7% on the debt. What if it doubles again? I think it'll be unmanageable. It'll crowd out all other spending. So I think we have to draw a line in the sand and take a stand here.
Now, we haven't really heard much from our local U.S. senators on this. It's been pretty quiet from Roger Marshall in Kansas, Jerry Moran in Kansas, Eric Schmidt, and Josh Hawley on the Missouri side. You've heard the most from Hawley saying no Medicaid cuts. And I think that's kind of a misinterpretation of what's going on here. We absolutely should be looking at Medicaid cuts, and that should be by looking at fraud and abuse. 1.4 million illegal immigrants have been on Medicaid. Mark Alford from Missouri shared that on this show a week and a half ago. Like, if you want to call that a Medicaid cut, so be it. But to me, that's waste and abuse. Getting able-bodied adults off of Medicaid back into the workforce, that's a no-brainer. Is that a Medicaid cut? I mean, I guess if you're shrinking the size of Medicaid payments, sure, that's a cut. But I don't care if that's a cut. That's getting people on, into the labor force. It's getting people that are able-bodied adults without dependents off the government dole. That's a no-brainer to me. Not a Medicaid cut. So usually we have our U.S. senators here in Kansas and Missouri who can be pretty vocal. They're on, you see Hawley on Fox a lot. You see Roger Marshall on Fox a lot. But I'm not hearing a lot from these guys, and that's because I think that there's a lot of people trying to figure out how this whole big, beautiful bill is going to play out in the U.S. Senate. It's passed the House. It's now working its way through the Senate. And frankly, I don't think a lot of people want to really talk about it because they're trying to figure out what the next move is. 913-408-7957. Victor's on KCMO in Parkville. Go ahead, my man.
Good morning, Pete. I'm 100% with Rand Paul on this. I've said it before, okay? If not us, who? If not now, when? We're borrowing money to pay the debt. It's $2 trillion every year we're going into debt, and our interest rate on our debt is $1.3 trillion. We're borrowing money. You wouldn't do that in your household. It is a prescription for death of our economy. We can't do it. Go back to the 2019 prior COVID budget, account for inflation, and slash from there. If you need to put a little bit more to build back up the military that's been gutted because of Biden, fine. Okay, but this is unsustainable. This will destroy our economy and drive us into places that nobody really wants to go. Europe will tell us that.
You're right. You're right, my man. Elon saying here on X in November next year, we fire all politicians who betrayed the American people. It's going to include a lot of Republicans. Yeah.
I mean, how can you argue with the richest man in the world? He runs the biggest company, the most profitable country on the planet, and we're going to try to tell him how to balance a budget? We're going to try to tell him how to run our nation? No. Why don't you listen? I'll tell you what. Why don't you make Dave Ramsey in charge of the frickin' budget? Then we'll get some frickin' slashes.
That's right.
I'd love to see. Let's see Congress on beans and weenies.
Beans and rice and beans. Well done there, Victor. That's a nice job, my man. I don't know, beans and weenies. Where'd he get that from? It's beans and rice and beans. That's how Dave Ramsey says it. Although beans and weenies has a nice ring to it. I'll give him that much.
Counting for a little pork there.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. There's plenty of pork in this thing. Let's cut all the weenies. That's what we got to do. He's right. Oh, man. Well, I don't know. I mean, it's like Republicans almost got their George Soros in Elon Musk, and within 6 months he became so disgusted he's now looking to primary all of them. It's like, oh, man, that's too much.
The issue is they're not whacking enough.
They're not. Thank you, Mr. Wonderful. They're not. Got to whack some more. I don't care what it is. Weenies, pork, rice and beans, whack it all.